All right, JoeyRitter.com, on Twitter at Joey Ritter. Very excited about my guest today. We got Quan from the famed Opie and Anthony show, and you also host Liquid Metal. Am I correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, but the reason why I really am having you on today is because both of our bands kind of played through the same scene, if you will, in the early 2000s. And you had a band called I Want to Kill You, which I guess would you say Kutztown was your hometown, or Reading?
Yeah, we're all from Kutztown. One guy was from Emmaus, Pennsylvania, but we all lived in Kutztown, all the other guys.
Right on. So basically, I'm doing my 9 to 5 commute. All right, however long ago it was, have O&A on the radio. And I know this guy Troy used to come on every now and then. And he talks, and you're just kind of one of the background guys. So I never quite could put a face to the name or anything like that. And then all of a sudden they're asking you about your band, and you said you're from Kutztown, Pennsylvania, and you were in I Want to Kill You, and I'm just like half asleep because it's early in the morning, and I'm like, holy shit, like that's Troy from I Want to Kill You, on the show. So I've just been excited every time you have your speaking slots on the show. And
oh, right on, man. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's whenever I get a chance to go in studio, I definitely try to. It's like one of those things of trying to like wheel your way in. But yeah, man, that's cool that you figured. It's funny is like random people will contact you, and they'll be listening to the show and they won't even know it's me. Until like a certain period of time, like, holy shit, exactly like the same thing you just said. So it's kind of funny when that happens.
Right. So, I guess tell me how you kind of got from Kutztown, Pennsylvania, and what you did to land yourself in New York City with XM.
Well, before I Want to Kill You, I was in a band called Wolfpack. It was we were like a white hip hop group from Philadelphia. It's like the Misfits meet like the Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay.
And I toured with them for a long period of time. And I also was a tattoo artist, a body piercer at Paradise Lost in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. So that's kind of why I ended up in Kutztown. And then after I left Wolfpack, I started the band I Want to Kill You. Mm-hmm. And, we were a grindcore band, so we were just trying to be as obnoxious and crazy as we possibly could. And it's a lot of fun, it's intense, but there's not a lot of money to be made in it. And, sometimes, I don't know, I mean, you've played in bands, like, you get to the point in your life, I don't know if you've ever experienced where you're like, what am I doing? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, especially in a genre like that, I mean, you have to be doing it because of the love, because there's no possibility of, becoming unbelievably wealthy from doing something like this.
Right.
And I was just in Kutztown, and I just was really just fed up, man, really bored with life. And I had seen a lot of people that were still in Kutztown that were older, and they were just sort of trapped there. And it was like they go to the bar. Monday nights you have hot wings at Basin Street.
Right.
And then you go the Tuesday night, you have karaoke at Shorty's, and that's what you do, and you do that, and there's no future.
Right.
Then next week. So I basically sold off all my shit. I just was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And I had a DeLorean. I sold my DeLorean, and I just was like, I'm going back to school. I'm going to audio school. And I had a pretty good, I had recorded my other bands and stuff, but I really wanted to, like, know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And got an internship at Sirius, and then they hired me full-time, and I was actually in music. And then after XM and Sirius merged, Opie and Anthony were coming over to the Sirius building, and I really understood the system that we were using, so they had me come in to help them sort of, get into the building and get situated. And from there, I just started putting stuff together, and they liked it. And when there was an opening for the producer position, they asked me to do it.
There it is. Awesome. Well, I definitely remember, just from, because I was the guy that kind of did all the booking and promoting and stuff for Ritter. And just from doing all that, I remember seeing, your guys' poster with the Uncle Sam, I Want to Kill You. And I love the band name. And see, the hardcore, I have kind of a love-hate thing with. I love the passion. I love, everything, I guess, except the fact that my band was never accepted by the hardcore kids because, we were too hard for pop punk, but yet we weren't hard enough for the hardcore kids, so we were kind of in this gray area.
Yeah.
So every time we were on a hardcore bill, it was always tough for us because, they'd just kind of be standing like this, waiting for the real hardcore bands like your band to come on.
They just went breakdown so they could beat the shit out of each other.
Right.
It's funny because, like, we were never accepted by hardcore bands. Like, we didn't really... Like, we would come out in sweaters, to a metal show where everybody's in black, and wearing Slayer T-shirts, and we'd come out in sweater vests, and they would just be mad at us,
right.
because we didn't look the part,
Right.
But it was like a joke, but it wasn't a joke, but it was, it was just this weird. I don't know. I don't really understand what it was, but it was fun to do.
Right. Well, one thing I wonder about is, you're at family outings, like a wedding or something, and somebody always, drops that you're in a band. Oh, here's Troy. He plays in a band. He sings in a band. And then you always have, like, an elder aunt or somebody, like, oh, Troy, you're a singer? What's the name of your band? Like, how did that exchange take place?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, there were some times where the shock value of it was great.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't really know why, but I always like uncomfortable situations. I kind of thrive on them. I'm not quite sure why, but dropping that band name, in a family function really was it created an uncomfortable situation. My girlfriend at the time hated it, and she was like this straightforward, like. She was a model, and really stuck up, snooty family, and they were so embarrassed of it. And
right.
I wasn't allowed to talk about it, and it was a weird situation. So it had its pluses, being in a band by that title, and it also had like this weird negative. Right. Some people just didn't get the joke,
Right. Well, your screaming voice is like absolutely incredible, and people. And kind of myself included because I'm kind of a pop guy and I'm all about like hooks and, catchy songs and stuff. But yet when I listen to you guys, I can tell that there's good musicianship and your voice like is just an incredible screaming voice. And people don't realize how difficult that actually is to do. Were you just kind of sitting in a car one day and just started screaming and just, that voice just kind of came about, or was it something you had to work at?
Yeah, it was really just loving that music. I mean, I really got into like Dillinger Escape Plan, Calculating Infinity,
mm-hmm.
and he just has Dimitri. He was the singer on that album. He sounded. It wasn't like a lot of the screaming in hardcore at that time was like almost yelling. Where Dimitri sounded like a straight up lunatic, like it was somebody in the mental ward screaming, and I love that, and then from there, like I really like Pig Destroyer, the way they sound, mm-hmm. It's a little bit more of like a lunatic scream than like a growl,
Right. Well, how do you keep that up for like a whole set? I assume you guys did half-hour, 45-minute sets. I mean, there's things you can do when you're singing if you're kind of off that night to kind of maybe take vocal shortcuts, but with what you're doing, it's really hard to, not go full throttle.
It is, man, and we were awful too. Like we would blow out. Hank was one of the other guys in the band with me. We had two singers, and we would blow out our voices, and then we would go, smoke blunts, which is like the worst thing you could possibly do. But what it did was, it would just completely fry it. Now watch, I'll have like throat cancer, and then it'll be awful. But it just fries your voice, and then it heals, and then you rip it again, and that's how you get like a deep resonance to your voice, and that's really what worked. And then you have to take care of it, obviously. And I'm working on a new band right now, so I just started screaming again. Okay. And I mean, I was on the air 2 weeks ago. I just couldn't even talk.
Right.
Throat was completely shredded, and then it's just kind of getting back into the way of, trying to figure out how to scream again,
So is this band based out of New York now?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're just kind of in the demo stages right now. We don't even really have a name for it yet. It's going to be. Did you know Jared Picone? He was in a band called 13 Over 8.
Definitely know that name, yeah, just from like Sound Waves and Silo and all those venues. And
then those guys went on to do Inner Party System. He was also in Inner Party System.
Okay.
He was the drummer. He's an incredible drummer, and he's becoming really good at programming. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. It's like we're working on something that's like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry meets like Converge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unique. It really is. But, it has to be something, at my age, it has to be something fun that there's no expectations. It's literally just a creative outlet,
Sure. I know what you mean, exactly what you were saying before. I mean, I did Ritter for 9 years, and, there were some great things, would get airplay on Y100, would play Warped Tour, would open for cool bands. But then when you turn 27, 28, and then all of a sudden you're, kind of like... You just don't see your fan base growing at the same rate it was growing when you were like 21, 22. It's just kind of like, And then I kind of switched over to playing cover songs because I always assumed that, like, cover bands would just show up and, pocket all this cash and go home. And that's not the case at all. It's still like, how many people can you bring at the door kind of thing?
Yeah.
Which, whatever. But
it sucks, man. You have to figure out what it was. Like, when I first moved to New York, I was bumming because I was playing in bands my whole life. And here I am, and I have no creative outlet. And that's actually how I started getting into DJing. I've made more DJing in the short time I've been doing it than I've ever made in bands.
So
what's that?
Go ahead. I was going to ask you about the DJing. Obviously, is it just like straight up, your own kind of mixes and stuff, or are you playing popular songs that people want to hear, and you're just a DJ at parties and stuff?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it was, because it was like when I was in the rap group that I was in before. I mean, I mixed around with turntables and that side of DJing, but it really never interested me. I was more of a musician.
Right.
And then I started messing with this program called Ableton Live. And I fell in love with it, and I was just watching what people were doing with it, and then it was like, oh, Daft Punk uses Ableton Live, and these people do it. So it was like, oh, well, let's give this a shot. And I just started going out to clubs and listening to what they're doing and watching what they were doing, and they were using turntable A, turntable B, and that's how they're doing. I was like, well, what happens if I use Ableton and I have little pieces of sound, and I can play this sound and I can play this sound, and just basically painting a collage of sound, which is cool. And then, it's like I got hired. I had the opportunity to work for a really cool spot in the West Village here in New York City. And it's basically like they're paying you a lot of money to keep people there drinking. What are you going to play for them?
Okay.
And that's really cool. And I love music. So, you have to play, obviously, people want to hear Rihanna.
Right.
What it is. But then you can creep in the other stuff, oh shit, I can't believe you're playing Sneaker Pimps. Like, I haven't heard this song in 12 years, So it gives you a creative release that way.
Is it harder to break through a little bit in New York City versus Kutztown? I mean, they're two completely different, places, but in Kutztown, there's just, there are venues that like the Reading venues, the Allentown venues, where you're playing, basically. I mean, there's the cool, like, VFW shows I'm sure you guys played back in the day.
Sure.
But New York City, there's just so many venues, so many, people that are trying to do what you're doing. Is it more difficult, or, is it basically the same?
It's really oversaturated, and it's brutal, because everybody's here is on the top of their game, but it really, whether you're a producer for Sirius XM or you're a DJ or you're a musician, it forces you to be on top of your game and go beyond anything that you ever thought you could push yourself to.
Right.
And if you can't hang, you got to get out of the way.
Right.
Because there's people coming up that are just gonna, they're gonna rule. So, I mean, that's, and once you find that rhythm where you understand that this is what it is, and you start seeing some success from it, it fuels your fire, and you're like, I'm going to be, I just want to be a warrior, you
right,
know?
Right. Well, has the whole Opie and Anthony experience, kind of helped you break through a little bit with, your DJing and music and all that?
A little bit. I mean, O&A is definitely a different audience than the stuff I'm into. And they like to bust my balls for it. I think it's probably more so helped me to think outside of the box for things. Because I've never really been into comedy. I like comedians and whatnot, but I never had to put things together that were funny.
Right.
So you have to go into different areas that you never thought musically, where, this is music, this is what it is, and now it's comedies like this, and you're like, oh, and then, you can take little pieces of that and work it into what you're doing.
Right. I mean, the reason I ask is because, say what you want about O&A fans, that generally, kind of knucklehead people, but they're very dedicated,
Very dedicated, yeah. It was cool because I just opened up for the band Train yesterday in Philly.
Okay.
I was at the Mann Center and opened up for them. And a lot of O&A fans came out, actually. And it's surprising, man. It was really cool to see, when they come out and they do show your support. And they're, really nice people, very dedicated. And it's funny that they know everything you say and repeat back to you things you've said one time. That just
Right. And I remember when Train was in studio because, Train was like a band that my mom listened to back when they came out, so I always considered them kind of corny. And then I guess, they kind of went away for a little bit and then just came back, with singles and hit songs and stuff. And, I dig them a lot, and that guy can really sing.
Really sing and write good songs, man. I mean, you have to appreciate good people that can write good music, and not just like, a formula where, here's a beat at, 128 BPM, like actually structure out a melody, and write a good hook. I mean,
right.
It's amazing when people can really do that, and then be able to get paid for it. I mean, how many people do you know, or how many bands do you know that have amazing songs, strong hooks, and you're like, why is this band not massive?
Yep.
So,
you gotta get into that other side of marketing, and some bands just know how to be musicians and aren't good at the business end of it.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny that you mentioned that you never had to produce things for comedy before, because you can kind of, not to say that you're not a funny guy, but when you come in and people kind of rag on you for like stuff that you're wearing or something, like you always lay the verbal smackdown on, like you're not trying to be funny, but you always get your point across, and you usually win the arguments.
Well, it's funny because I'm not a comedian, so I'm just a regular guy from the street. So if you bust my balls, and you're telling me like what I'm wearing is stupid, it's like, well, all right, that's fine. Let's see what you're wearing. What are you wearing? What do you have that is so amazing? You have to critique what I'm wearing, and that's kind of my angle with it. And it seemed to work, and I like it. I mean, personally, I never knew how much I loved getting into an argument until Opie and Anthony.
Right.
And,
well, would you say that they kind of, like pit you and Sam and all the other producers kind of like against each other just for kind of the entertainment value?
Of course. They're radio. They really are geniuses at what they do, and just listening at home and stuff. It's like they're funny. They make you laugh, but when you actually work there with them and you watch them doing what they do, and then I have to go back over this audio and chop it up and do things with it, and you're like, holy shit, that was funny, and you just realize how talented these guys really are. So they're able to manipulate situations and honestly, one of the best people on that entire show about turning a situation around and making it into something else is Sam. He is so funny, and he just has ways of doing things. And I mean, you're seeing a guy, in my opinion, a guy in the infancy stage of he's going to do something massive. He's just a very talented guy.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, I've been listening for a long time, and when he kind of was first there, it's tough to warm up to a new person, but now you know what he's all about, and his role within the show is established, and yeah, I agree, he's pretty talented.
And it's funny too, because like once those guys like, it's rare that people will just formulate their own opinions of people. A lot of times they'll go with what O&A say, and if O&A don't like you, that people will take O&A's side, and they're like, well, if they don't like you, I don't like you either, So I think he has definitely earned their respect on the air, and he's in studio with them, so he definitely contributes a lot.
Right.
So,
well, yeah. One thing, about the show and kind of the attitude of the show is kind of like this, you got to kind of act like you've been there before when celebrities come in the studio. Is there anybody, you can share where you just kind of like had to stop and think for a second, like, holy shit, I can't believe this person's here? Yeah,
it actually just happened the other week. Mike Tyson came into studio.
Right.
And you're just like, that's really him.
Yeah.
There he is. And he was great. I mean, I've known about Mike Tyson. I mean, I had Mike Tyson's Punch-Out,
right.
On Nintendo,
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then for him to be a great guest, and then be an awesome guy afterward, you know what I mean? That was huge. But Will Ferrell was pretty cool too. Like meeting him and seeing him on the show, you're like, wow,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Tyson, I mean, I still have not beaten him in the Nintendo game version. Is impossible.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough. Remember when Nintendo Power, they would give you like these like secret tips?
Yeah, and the codes and all.
Yeah. I've seen people do it, but I could never do it.
Yeah, I've seen it done, I've went on YouTube and typed, beating Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and you got to dodge his, like, dynamite punches for 90 seconds, and then it's impossible.
Yeah.
But you're obviously a really busy guy. You got to be up at the crack of dawn every day working on the show. You're on Liquid Metal. You're, DJing at night and stuff, which is not quite conducive to the morning schedule. So you're obviously a really busy guy. But what do you like to do when you're not, involved with music and production and all that stuff?
Just sleep. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. I mean, it's just you have to go all the time. Like I DJ at night, so I have to be at work at 6 a.m. So I literally just stay up and go into work.
Yeah.
So I'll
oh my
work
God.
a full day, DJ, and then I'll go into my back into work. But yeah, I mean, I like to. I got actually back into skateboarding. I used to skate as a kid, and then when I moved to New York City, I was still street skating a little bit, and I screwed up my foot pretty good, and then I got into longboarding. And I saw these guys, if you ever, you're on YouTube, check out Bustin' Boards out of Brooklyn. They have a bunch of cool videos.
Okay.
And these dudes are killing it on longboards in New York City. And they're nuts. They're bombing streets and weaving in and out of cars. And I saw that, and I was like, that looks great.
Right.
So it was almost like being a kid again, where it was like, oh, yeah, I want to do that.
Right.
So I'm really into longboarding. I'm still way into it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I never, obviously all the music that I listened to, I guess, was all skateboarder music, but I could never do it. Like, my parents bought me a skateboard when I was, in 7th grade, just went down the driveway, fell once. I was like, screw this, I'm not doing this, I gave up pretty easy on the skateboarding. But, so you recently went to Chicago with Jim Norton.
Yeah.
And I really wonder, because that guy, and speaking of brilliance, I mean, a guy that as soon as, something leaves your mouth, he's got to come back, quickest guy on the radio. And yeah. I'm just wondering, is his persona always the same, like when he's not on the microphone, or is he just kind of chill out until, they flip on the mics?
No, that's Jim. I mean, he is who he is on the radio, and it's cool because going to Chicago and experiencing that when we went out to see Black Sabbath at Lollapalooza, and Black Sabbath is his favorite band, and it was cool because I'd never really seen him like a kid in a candy store,
right?
And that was something that was really, I was very fortunate to see, but yeah, he's funny all the time. I mean, he's just naturally funny. He's not even trying to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's just the things that come out of his mouth they're funny. What he says is hysterical.
Right.
The one thing that's really funny about Jim too, and if you don't know him, it's really weird, but Jim's characters,
oh yeah.
He'll flip into Chip and talk to the waiter as Chip. And it's just funny to watch, like, how uncomfortable the waiter gets, or how uncomfortable a situation will be that he will create, you know.
But he's doing that for your benefit, or just because he's entertaining himself?
I think he just does it to entertain himself. Yeah, it's so funny. See, and I've never been around somebody that would just flip into characters, you know.
Right.
So it takes a little getting used to, because you're just kind of like, well, who am I talking to, you know?
Right. Exactly. So, who's your Black Sabbath? You know, as big of a fan as Norton is to them. Who's like, you know, the band that, you know, you're flying out and losing your shit over?
I would probably say, like Faith No More.
Okay.
I like Mike Patton a lot. I mean, I've just been a huge fan of everything he's done since he started, really, with Faith No More. The Beastie Boys, you know, they're massive for me. And I think I actually, like, I kind of went away from them, and then after MCA just passed away, like, I've just been way back into the Beastie Boys, and just realizing how cool I mean, I always knew how cool they were, but then you just realize, like, oh, yeah, they're the shit.
I see you got the poster behind you there.
Yeah, that's actually, let me grab that quick. Hang on. This is one of my favorite things ever. It's this is actually the vinyl.
Okay.
Head, and it was signed by all three.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's
that's awesome.
MCA, Ad Rock, and then Mike D signed up there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's like, I don't really have too much. I have like a Paul McCartney poster. That's all I have up. So
right.
But yeah.
You know what? Because I know what I've got behind me, and it's the Back to the Future too. And you were in the, you know, I didn't want to cut you off from speaking, but you mentioned that you sold your DeLorean. Now I'm, you know, from thinking about Back to the Future, you had a DeLorean?
Yeah.
Like a silver one or a red one or?
Yeah, it was just a regular silver. I actually found a good deal on it down in New Orleans, and this guy's like, "Oh yeah, you know, come get it. It's like $7,000. You know, it runs great." I was like, cool. So me and my buddy took a flatbed down there to pick it up. The thing was a total piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it was just totally screwed up. So we brought it back, and then I just slowly started restoring it, and put a new motor in it, put a new transmission in it, lowered it, like turned it into a pretty cool show car. And I needed a chunk of change, and I hated to do it, so I had to get rid of it. But,
right. Well, did you ever drive it to, like, you know, Target or something and park it in the parking lot, and then the doors, like, you know, wasn't there a problem with the doors hitting the car next to it?
Well, the radius that you need to open the door is actually less than a regular car door.
Oh, really?
Because it's a gull wing, so it goes like this. So it, you know, you have like this you need less space actually. But yeah, you definitely get a lot of looks. I mean, people are just looking at you like, wow, you know, there it is, and you're driving down the street, and people are pointing and looking at you, and it's pretty cool.
Right. All right, Troy, we do a segment here on Joey Ritter Live called Turn It Up or Turn It Off, all right? Okay. So I'm going to name 5 songs, and you simply tell me if you're going to turn it up or turn it off.
Okay.
All right? And if I don't agree with your answer, I might jump in and argue with you.
Okay.
So, okay, here the first one is Everything About You by Ugly Kid Joe.
Okay. I'm going to have to say turn it off.
Okay. We can just leave it at that. That's fine. You don't have to justify, but you can explain yourself if you want.
But I will give him a little bit of credit. I think the singer sang for Life of Agony then, didn't he, for a short period of time?
I have no idea.
I want to say he did. So that gives him a little bit of credit.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, that was kind of like... Yeah, that was pretty cheesy.
Speaking of Faith No More, they're kind of like the cartoon version of Faith No More, because they were like kind of metally, rocky, but then they would have corny raps and stuff in their song. So
yeah, but Cats of the Cradle, their version of that was actually not that bad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That was a great version of that. Next one is I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany.
I gotta turn it up. I'm into Tiffany
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm 34, so I mean, she was like. You know, I remember when the video came out, they were in the mall, and right. Like, I want to go to whatever mall that is, and then, right. Tiffany. And then she was actually on O&A, and I had a chance to meet her, and she was really sweet. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She Hates Me by Puddle of Mudd.
Yeah, I can't really get down with any Puddle of Mudd. You gotta turn that down. Yeah, I'm not. That was Puddle of Mudd was that was like a Fred Durst band, didn't he find Puddle of Mudd?
Oh yeah. I believe he did.
And
yes.
he was backing him. So I mean, anything Fred Durst backs, I can't back.
Yeah, the reason I put that on the list, and I thought it would be a good one to ask you, is because at the time it came out, I was wired to hate that band and just, not accept anything. And then, I think it was on, just flipping through XM, and that song was on, and I don't know, I just turned the volume up and just started getting into it. I'm like, am I really getting into Puddle of Mudd right now? I don't know if it just puts me in a better place of a time period in my life or something, but I was really into the song.
Well, maybe I'll give it another shot. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it's like sometimes it just takes you back to a moment. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, a good example of that is when they came out, I couldn't stand Third Eye Blind.
Oh yeah,
I did them. And now you listen to those songs, and you're just like, I'm screaming along.
Absolutely.
Jumper, and then the other one that they have,
Semi-Charmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You listen to that now, and you're like, those are good songs.
That's a song like just from playing in cover bands the last couple years, just seeing how people react to that song, yeah. Semi-Charmed. I mean, that's a home run every time that song is played. So.
It is, yeah.
All right, next song is Run Around Sue, Dion and the Belmonts.
That's I'm into that. Right. Sure. Yeah, I mean, oldies, you can't go wrong, man. It feels good. It's like...
Yeah, who's going to sit there and say, yeah, I'm turning off Run Around Sue? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that takes me back to, like, being a kid and going to, like there was, like, a 50s style diner in Allentown, I remember, and they had a jukebox, and just listening to the songs, I mean, how can, you can't go wrong.
Right on. All right, last one is Wanna Be by Spice Girls.
I can get down with some Spice Girls. Turn it up, sure. Yeah, I'm not hating on the Spice Girls. I never had a problem with them. When they came out, I was like, they're great.
Fully agreed. All right. Yeah. And finally, we have this thing called the Book of Questions. Okay? And some of them are pretty dark, but I think you're up to the challenge. I just need you to pick a number between 1 and 200, and I will ask you the corresponding question.
Okay. Let's do 187.
187?
Yeah.
All right. 187 for Troy Quan. We got, in a nice restaurant, after getting the check for an excellent meal, you noticed that you were not charged for one of the items you ate. Would you tell the waitress?
Oh, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I probably would. I mean,
you don't want to go on the record and say, you're gonna beat the check, but.
Well, my bank account right now would probably think, well, like what's the difference of like $2 or whatever, if they skimp on that. But it's one of those things with like just karma, you know what I mean? Like you just want to like. If something were to happen to you, you want that good to come back to you. I mean, I kind of believe in that. So, it's probably better to be honest about something like that than to be deceitful.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal, but I don't know.
All right, and on a good karma note. Yes. Troy, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. Maybe you need to get some sleep before tomorrow. Because, it's been a busy weekend. But, yeah, I appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Troy Quan on Twitter. And anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, dude. Whenever you're up on in the city, come stop by, man. I'll give you a tour and let you meet the guys. They're great dudes. So
right on. I'm up there for work, 2 or 3 times a year. So
cool. Let me know.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Troy. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.